Well, good morning, everybody. How are you all doing? I see Bob made it in. Hello, Lily. I said hi to Chloe. Hello, Connie. Connie said just in time. A lot of people come in like an hour before and we chat before. Mermaid. A lot of people were asking about you in another show. I said, I just talked to her. Mermaid's been in the Facebook group chatting back and forth. Hello, Tony Jordan. Carol came in making it rain bacon for OJ. Carl said, I'm great today. Good. Hello, Kaleida Hope. How are you, honey? Dolores made it in. What's the haps, my friend? What all is going on? Walking Dead made it back in. Hello, Diana J. Criminal Med Connection says, can a mod explain caps rules to me, then emoji rule, as Nightbot yelled at me about emojis, so I'm confused. I don't have a Nightbot, so I don't know. If you're typing things in all caps, YouTube will say that they believe there's arguing going on in the chat. And then you ask for a manual review and they go through the chat replay and they're like, oh, okay, it's all good. And then there's people that leave like a bunch of emojis. And I don't know, about that. But that's pretty much it. No harm, no foul is what I say. Hello, Nubian. Hello. Hope everyone's having a good day. So, what the hell? We've had almost 2 years, almost, of course, of Summer Wells being missing. And almost 2 years of Dawn and Candace saying she would never wander off. But, big but, now we're hearing that she might have just gotten mad and walked off. Like she just stormed out of the house. No big deal. Question is, how far can a 5-year-old barefoot little girl get? You had the most massive search in Tennessee history. I know there's one of you that just chimed in that isn't going to agree with this. But my question is, with the most, next to Holly Bobo, this is the most extensive search they have done. They had thermal imaging, heat-seeking drones. You're telling me they can't find her? Why would her mom and dad go to Springdale, Arkansas to work if she could be around there somewhere? Detective Pruitt said she's around there somewhere. Robin said pretty far she used to not wearing shoes. How far can she get in 1 hour, Robin? Is she an Olympian? How far can she get? They searched the 11 acres. They searched the whole Beach Creek community. Excuse me. Helicopters, drones, etc. How far can she get? Absolutely crazy. I don't get the silliness that's going on. I do not get it. I guess we heard last couple of days that Don owes $4,300 because he was charged $15 a day for his time in Hawkins County. Okay, well, the math adds up. But he makes more than $15 an hour, so why is that anyone else's problem? Why is it our problem to pay his jail fines? Why? I don't get it. To make things easier on them? Hey, let me tell you something right now. If they were trekking around the woods all around their own property right now looking for summer, just one of them. I don't mean both of them. Just one of them. I might chip it in. I might be like, "Yeah, I'll put some money in there." Sure. Because you're doing everything that you can possibly to find your child, but I think we can all agree that they're not and never have. It's never had that vibe. It's never had that feel. And you can have fines out there for umpteen years. They don't do anything about it. They just sit there and collect interest. For when they pick you up and put you in jail again, it just compounds. Absolutely ridiculous. Don said that, they don't make doctor money. They don't make doctor money. But this family that has their children, they have them in football and basketball. Are you kidding me? Who in here makes doctor money and didn't have their children involved in sports or any kind of school activity? Any kind of school activity. You don't have to have doctor money to put your kids in football. Hell, there's some plumbers that make more money than doctors. Gotta be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. They don't have any bills, they don't have a house payment. They just have to keep the lights on and pay for their straight talk bill. And in the meantime, it's grift after grift after grift after grift. And they are not doing anything to look for their daughter, who, according to Detective Pruitt, is around there somewhere. Which one of you fine parents would give up on finding your missing child? None of you. None of you. Absolutely crazy, especially when the lead detective says they believe she's around there somewhere. Absolutely crazy. Let's go through the comments from the last show and we are going to get to the show. I want to see all your comments. The link is pinned, and you come up and you tell me what you think. Daisy. And no, not that Daisy. Hang on, let me get my glasses on. I am very stopped up today, so please bear with me. Daisy, like I said, not the channel owner Daisy. I have a hard time watching anything about Summer because I was so heavily invested since she went missing. I literally shake with anger with the creators that argue that Dawn and Candace are totally innocent. Such great parents, they say. Look at the fun pics of them doing all these fun things on Facebook. Well, Letitia and Lori Vallow took the same types of fun pics. Everyone condemned Letitia and Lori for good reason from the get-go. Why all of the sympathy for Dawn and Candace for 23 months when they have only lied and taken financial advantage from Summer's disappearance? No tears for anyone but themselves. Summer had a history of wandering off. Why was this instance requiring a 911 call so soon after they allegedly realized she wasn't there? Wouldn't they have taken a few more hours first to look for her if she's done this so many times before? Yes, there were predators in the area, but then why lie? Why immediately go to abduction? Why immediately proclaim she must be deceased? I just wish we could get confirmation about what the boys said they saw or heard, and I have zero trust in the law enforcement there. Absolutely heartbreaking. I have my own theory, and no, neither Candace nor Dawn, not Dorn, are innocent parties. Personally, I think there is way more evidence, but perhaps some of that evidence doesn't look good for Ellie just for a thought. This was sus from the very beginning. I agree 100%. She's wandered off before, and you didn't call 911. Now, you have no problem calling 911 the minute that Dawn gets sideways, and your phone works fine when you do. Your phone works just fine when you're getting cash apps. But that day, you called 911 about Summer. According to Dawn, these are his words. When she would wander off before, they would just send the boys out and say, "Go find your sister." And they would find their sister, and all was well. Jose said one time it took him about an hour to find Summer. But on this day, according to Candace, she was just gone. It was a very small time frame. 10 minutes, and she calls 911. I cannot talk today. Trev Tom said Don just admitted on Josh's show that this is true. He's talking about this text that is going around that was put on Kathy's channel. This is between her and Candace. Me personally, I don't share private messages. I don't do drama. No matter how big of a falling out I have with someone, I don't share our personal messages. I just don't do it. That's me. Seems to me that Kathy has been baiting information out of Candace for a long time. It's a very strange thing that's going on. It's a two-ply using. Because people are using Candace, but then Candace is using them. It's really weird. She says, "Are you okay?" Well, I spoke to the boys last night, and they told me, and the consoler, which I believe is counselor, they don't want to come back home with me and Dawn, and that's what they're going to tell the judge. Okay. Well, her friend Kathy decided to share that this week, and Dawn said it's true. It's true. I don't know how Dawn would know, because Dawn wasn't on the message. But I don't understand when people share private messages between them and a friend. I'll never understand that. But it happens, and it happens quite often. We see it all the time. Kathy M. said they don't even know how dangerous it is for a child to run behind a lawnmower. This is from the WJHL interview, where Dawn said Summer used to run behind the lawnmower all the time. That's very dangerous. We're all mad here, said there's so many wrong answers. I live here in Hawkins County. Don's mother inherited that land from her husband, William Goad. He had a will that would transfer the property to his sister, Mary Sexton, upon his wife's death. However, after his death, Don's mother, Karen, willed the property to Don. He owns it outright and absolutely can sell it. This is from things floating around YouTube saying Don can't sell his own property. Well, a simple call to the tax assessor's office in Hawkins County, they will tell you that he can sell his property. I don't understand why this is a point of discussion. That's the least of our worries is what they do with their real estate. I don't know why anybody would care about that. Heidi always peeping said, what little hope I was still holding on to that far back was shot to shit after the Dr. Phil show. I was highly disappointed the way he was so passive with this situation. I've seen him go hard on people when he knows they're keeping stuff hidden or lying. And don't get me started on the behavioral panel. They both threw the best opportunity to get info out about Summer's parental figures and blew it. I think we can all agree with that. That was absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely sick. And you're right. I've seen Dr. Phil go crazy mad on people. As far as Dawn owing $230 in taxes, big whoop. You know how long that's going to take to force a sale on a house for $230? Ridiculous. I mean, it doesn't matter anyway because it's just the two of them. It's like the old Will Smith song. Just the two of us. It's just them. They can easily pay their bills. They're both working. Candace got what she wanted. She has him all to herself. Drywallers make good money. Even the ones that are shitty and don't try. They can pay their own. See, this is not a concern of theirs. Let's go through a little bit of the timeline, shall we? Of course, this is a much older article because you know where we are with this case. Thank you, Bonafide. Bonafide just gifted 5 Crime Lines and Lies memberships, and I see Carol did too. Thank you so much. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family. So it says here 5:30 p.m. on June 15th, 2021. Summer was planting flowers about 20 feet from her family's house on Ben Hill Road in Beach Creek with her mother and grandmother. Now, this came from Don because he's repeating information from Candace. Her dad told the Times News in the early days of the investigation. She reportedly went inside and told her 3 older brothers she wanted to play with her toys in the basement. But when her mother Candace came inside a short time later, Summer was nowhere to be found. 6:30 p.m., Summer was reported missing to the Hawkins County Sheriff's Department. So this is 1 hour. This is 1 hour. And in the past, when Summer would wander off, they'd send the boys to go find her, and that was it. So why on this day was this 1 hour so important? Where were the boys really? Did summer really go in the house? Because I don't believe there was any planting flowers because weeds don't grow that fast. Midnight on June 16th, the Tennessee State Bureau of Investigation released an endangered child alert for summer. Shortly after 11 a.m. on the 16th, TBI changed the endangered child alert to an amber alert. The endangered child alert is issued when there is concern for a child's safety, while the amber alerts are reserved for the most serious of missing children's cases. Barb said, "Did you hear Dawn blame his sons? Wow, last to see her." Yeah, they're really good about blaming other people. Candace was the one home. Candace was the one that was supposed to be keeping up with her children. Are we surprised she wasn't? Thank you, Palm Patrol, for the super sticker. 4 p.m. on June 16th, officials with the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office and the TBI held the first of which would be several news conferences updating the public. 1 p.m. on the 17th, search teams said steep and dangerous terrain, including dense canopy coverage and ground cover, were hampering their efforts. Poor cell phone service was also making it difficult for them to communicate. Also on June 17th, with all of this going on, Candace went to Allie's house to ask them what they had told the TBI. There's pictures of the search. At 8:40 p.m. on June 17th, investigators began asking anyone who lives on or near Ben Hill Road to check their trail cameras, surveillance footage, and outbuildings for any sign of Summer. June 18th, Summer's father spoke to the media outlets for the first time, saying he was at work when Summer went missing. He said, "When I got home, I drove to the bottom of the property and realized that all my neighbors and stuff were combing the woods looking for her. And I realized right then and there, that she was not there. I knew right then and there that she was gone because she would never leave there on her own. Somebody had taken her." Well, you see, that has changed because now we're hearing she might have just gotten mad and walked off. Where's she going to walk to? You see, kids like food, kids like pop, kids like their bed, even the shittiest of homes. They like their TV. They like their toys. See, kids don't just decide to pack up and go to a new family's house. It doesn't work that way. If Dawn would put pressure where pressure is due, which is on Candace, we might get somewhere. Because I don't believe for a minute that she just didn't have sight of Summer for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 45 minutes, and raised a panic and decided to get law enforcement involved. Because you see, people like Dawn and Candace don't want law enforcement around. They don't want them around. They know that Dawn has things that he should not have there. He's a felon that should not have a gun. They know they have their drugs there. Police don't like drugs. They could be intoxicated when they pop up. So why June 15th? Why? Reggie said, and wants to tell mom brothers won't play with her, but mom was gone down the road. So yeah, they're trying to say that she probably just stormed off and that's it. Well, again, how far can she get? I know that Robin in here said that she can get 10 miles in 1 hour. No. No way can Summer get 10 miles away in 1 hour. No way. No way. Absolutely crazy. Let's do a reminder really quick and then we're going to get to it. This is where Ronnie Lawson says they brought in the FBI card unit and said there was no abduction. 10 miles in an hour. Robin, are you still in here? You know how long it would take to get 10 miles barefoot?
It has been 5 months now since Summer Wells was reported missing from her home in the Beach Creek community. Authorities with the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office, the TBI, the FBI, they're all continuing to follow tips and leads about what happened to the little 5-year-old girl. Reporter Ansley Daniels spoke with Sheriff Ronnie Lawson about how the case is continuing to be handled.
I assure you, we've done everything when we was up there on that scene, everything humanly possible to do.
It's been months since the weeks-long ground search for Summer Wells was called off in the Beach Creek community.
The manpower, the search, the helicopters, the airplanes, tremendous amount of dogs, cadaver dogs, search and rescue teams.
Now, the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office, TBI, and FBI are still following up on tips.
I have one detective assigned to it, and TBI has agents assigned to it as well. We have the FBI partners on board. My detective, when he gets things comes in that he needs to look at, then he will get other detectives to help him follow up those leads.
Summer's parents and concerned community members believe she may have been abducted or trafficked.
I assure you, we've done everything when we was up there on that scene, everything humanly possible to do.
The FBI's Child Abduction Rapid Deployment Team even came to Beach Creek. That's a team dedicated to investigative, technical, analytical, and resource assistance on site during non-family child abductions, ransom child abductions, and mysterious disappearances of children.
We brought the FBI card team in, and everything that they can find, there was no indication whatsoever of child abduction.
There was no indication whatsoever of child abduction. Here's a fun fact. The fastest runner in the world is Usain Bolt. His top speed is 44 kilometers per hour. Even with that speed, he could not make it 10 miles in an hour. I understand Robin's in here saying it's because Summer was used to not wearing shoes, but come on. 10 miles in an hour? Angel P said, no way. No way. Is Summer faster than Usain Bolt? Is she a Kenyan? Where did you go, Robin? Bothering me with that shit? You gotta be kidding me. 10 miles in an hour.
On site during non-family child abductions, ransom child abductions, and mysterious disappearances of children.
We brought the FBI card team in, and everything that they can find, there was no indication whatsoever of child abduction.
The TBI asked for help finding the driver of a Toyota pickup truck that was seen in the area around the time Summer went missing. That's the last new public information that was released.
You would think if somebody had saw something, they would come forward, even if they just had the truck and didn't see anything. But like I said before, it may be somebody that has paid no attention to this, or maybe somebody that's got a criminal record and was driving wasn't supposed to be driving too.
Months later, that truck and its driver haven't been identified, but we learned more about the person who gave the information about the truck.
It was somebody driving a company truck that well, the officers here are familiar with this gentleman, and we believe that he actually saw it.
Almost 5 months, more than 1,500 tips, and a massive ground search later, the question of
She's not even swinging fast in her swing. But now she has cheetah speed? I hear something new every day. Holy shit, sometimes it takes me 30 minutes to drive 10 miles.
of where Summer Wells is still remains.
Nothing pointing to abduction, nothing pointing to foul play, other than her walking outside the house and not being found is basically the main thing right now. What actually happened to her, we're still trying to find out.
Oh, still such a mystery. Now, the TBI declined our request for an interview and referred us to previously recorded interviews.
Oh, it is a mystery, and this 10 miles an hour damn sure threw me for a loop today, and I was not in the damn mood for that. Where did you go, Robin? Because I want to hear how a 5-year-old barefoot, underfed little girl who only ate a cold hot dog that day and had a slushie can run 10 miles in one day. That's insane. So she's faster than Usain Bolt? My God. Good morning, Sarah. Good morning. Kiki said, in my opinion, Robin is just naive. Well, get with the program. Get with the program. We've been doing this for almost 2 years. If you're not up to speed yet, I'm not a Harvard University professor. I can't teach it to you yet. Be naive all you want. There's a little girl who is missing and parents that never went to look for her. Never went to look for her. Mermaid said, and a piece of candy, that's what did it. Mermaid solved it. That free mint from Sonic gave her Usain Bolt speed. Thank you, Mermaid. Thank you. That free peppermint from Sonic did it all. Gotta be kidding me. Of course. Why didn't I think of that? Thank you for solving the case, Mermaid. I absolutely love Mermaid. We were missing Mermaid the other day in a chat. Everybody was like, where's the Mermaid? Wish the U.S. Marshals would come work for me, because when I don't see you guys, I'm like, where'd they go? All right, let's look at this. This is Dawn talking to Josh on the lab the other day. And he's putting a lot of stuff out there. And let me tell you something right now. I think Josh has been very patient with him. He's letting him use his platform. Everyone in the chat, he tells them over and over to be respectful and let him talk. Now, Dawn doesn't have a shirt on, so girls, grab your zippers. I don't want anyone jumping through the computer going after Dawn. But I think he's been really nice. So this is not about the creator. Of course, you know where to check out the lab. This is about the conversation, and I just think Josh did a great job with him. Now, you're going to hear a lot of woe is me, all right? You're going to hear a lot of we can't do better type of situations. You're going to hear a lot of stuff going on. And I think Josh handled it really well because I would have jumped out of my skin and been like, come on, man. And no, I'm not picking apart how Josh did this. But I mean, the one that needs to sit and have the conversation is Candace. Candace was there. So whatever Dawn wants to say, at least it gives us something to go on. Hold on one second. Sarah Adams says, as a lesbian, I cannot hold myself back from a shirtless Don Wells in his prime. Look at this. Don Wells just turned Sarah straight. Sarah, are you on your way to Springdale, Arkansas to swoop Dawn up? Sarah's on her way. She can't hold it. She can't hold herself.
Or relaxing.
Yeah. What is it that what is it that you said that I was lying about?
I'm not necessarily calling you a liar or anything, Josh. I'm just these kind of things create a mob type atmosphere and people jump on, they jump into conclusions. I don't know if you can remember when all this first went down. And we had the psychics, we had the fake search teams. It was like a whirlwind of drama. It was bad. I mean, it was bad.
Okay, the psychics get to be too much in these cases. It's always the house, water, burning building. There was that one chick, what was her name? Tara the Princess or something like that during the Evelyn Boswell case. And she would do these lives on Facebook talking about Evelyn. And she always said she was in the house. Well, good guess. Good guess. But as she was talking, she had this half bald chihuahua that was humping this stuffed animal, going to town on it as she's doing these Facebook lives. It was something to see. So not only was this chihuahua or whatever this rat was half bald, it had worn the fur off the stuffed animal. According to Dawn, that is not a roach. It's actually, there was a blanket nailed up on the wall, so that's a screw with part of the blanket. Juanita was crazy. Yeah, Juanita was crazy. Yeah.
I mean, I wish I could explain or express what it was like around my house when all this first started happening. I mean, it was absolutely horrific. We were trying to talk to the police. The police weren't believing anything we were saying. And I knew that my daughter had been taken, and I was trying to express that to the police, and they was just eyeballing me like, yeah, right, kind of thing, and just
Well, the reason that the police were eyeballing you going, yeah, right, is because Candace's story did not make sense. By the time the authorities got there, they already knew that what the 911 dispatch had been told and what they were presented with when they got there was already different. Of course, they were like, yeah, right. Yeah, right.
just questioning, lots of questioning. We didn't sleep probably for 3 days because we were so worried sick for Summer that, knowing that she's just crying or being hurt or whatever. So you got those kind of emotions going on. And then Then they want us to do the lie detector test thing, and we spent 2 days doing that, and it was just pure hell all the way.
A lie detector test does not take 2 days. We've seen them live on this channel many times. I don't mean live when they're doing them. They don't take 2 days. But they had time to run $300 to Virginia to give to Dudley, and they had time to get new cell phones from AT&T, go to the water park, and go to Allie's house to ask Hunter what he's been telling the TBI. No. No.
Around. And then, there's just mass confusion also, really, because we had not only the police, we had first responders there, and that's what kind of choked up Beach Creek and Ben Hill Road. You couldn't even get in or out there for a good while for that night. You couldn't get in or out of our place. It was just so packed with, God bless them. They wanted to find our little girl. They was doing everything they could to help find her.
God bless them. They were just trying to find our little girl. Now, if you remember from back in the day, he complained about the helicopters keeping him and Candace awake. They were trying to sleep. But now we're saying we couldn't go to sleep because we were so worried sick. Hello, RJ. Hello, RJ. Don't forget the link is pinned. Come on up and talk. God bless Josh for getting through this.
But it was really mass confusion.
Well, and I don't disagree that it's been a nightmare for you. I completely agree with that. But when you're saying stuff like, the other day you said something during one of you were on a rant, and you said that you asked CPS or welfare to come take your kids. I mean, that's not how it works.
If I said that, I don't know why if I said that, it's not accurate. Okay, if I said that, that's not the truth, because the truth of the matter is,
Well, he said it. He has said that several times. He has said several times it was too dangerous of a situation for the boys to be there. Barb Murray, thank you for the super sticker. He told Brandy that he would go to TBI, to FBI and TBI. Hopefully Brandy wasn't holding her breath because she'd be dead, and we love Brandy. He's not going anywhere. And we don't just call CPS and say, come get my kids. It doesn't work that way. They're not babysitters. This is not about you and Candace going to see the new Spider-Man. No, they came and got those boys with good reason.
We had a case. They were.
Are you still under a gag order?
Yeah, I mean, we're not supposed to talk about the boys, as far as where they're at and what's going on or whatever. I mean, I don't know exactly, but I suppose. I mean, yeah, we're supposed to be really careful, but
he does know because Candace texted Kathy and said that judge chewed his ass in February and said, get off the YouTube, get off the internet, quit talking about these boys. They can see it.
we sat in our house for 3 or 4 days. The police parked right outside our door, every night, and I'd go out and offer them coffee or whatever, and because we weren't sleeping, we were not sleeping, but and I was sitting there in my house miserable, and I didn't know what to do, and I made the grave mistake of going online, thinking I can't go physically go out there and search everybody's home. So I thought, well, I've heard good things about social media. Maybe that would be the best thing to do to try to help find her. Well, that turned into a complete nightmare. Yeah, we got her picture out there, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for everybody sharing, her pictures everywhere and stuff. But people have attacked us. We have all these conspiracy theories going on. And people, it was so bad, and so many people, it was crazy, and it still is, that would befriend us and act like they're our friend, they support us and everything, just to turn on us. And
That is something I will agree with, because these people that befriend victims' families, sometimes they're there for the greater good, and sometimes there's something going on inside of them. It's a crazy thing. And these people that have befriended Candace are not there for the greater good. I'm sorry to tell anyone that. They're not. They're not. Cecilia and Mina, thank you for the super sticker. Thank you. Per Burger says some YouTube channels forget and choose to completely ignore Dawn, Candace, and Grandis's history as lifelong criminal addicts, which is the main reason for Summerwell's alleged disappearance. You're in good hands here, because I don't forget it for a second. For a second. And I particularly do not forget Candace and her long history of child abuse at all.
blast everything we say, record everything we say, and it's been going like that for 2 years, still is today.
Right. Well, but the only reason that that's happening is because your daughter's missing.
Right. Yeah,
and she's been missing for 2 years.
Right.
And the police haven't even said, well, this is our theory with a suspect. And by the way, Don, well, Don, they said that, hey, if we find out, like, if there is an abduction, we'll tell you guys if that develops. But it never did develop. It's never developed.
Yeah, they have absolutely nothing. There's nothing.
They have absolutely nothing. There is nothing. How does he know? How does he know? They don't share their information with them. Now, what I will say is, it's crazy to me that there hasn't been at least one arrest in almost 2 years. To me, that's insane. Thank you, One Love. Thank you. Thank you. Hang on 1 second. StreamYard is messing up. I will be right back. I'm back. I apologize. I don't know why it does that sometimes. Pat K just awarded everybody, or some of you, Crime Lines and Lies memberships. Welcome to the family. Welcome, welcome. You never want to miss a members live. So this has always been very troubling to me, that he has always been on this soapbox that there is no evidence. There's none at all. That tells me he's paying a lot better attention than we give him credit for, because according to the TBI, in their press conferences, they're frustrated that there's very little evidence as to what happened to Summer.
Or they have
Well,
everything, right?
Well, the only thing they've got as far as evidence is the dog trail. The dog that went down the dog trail. That's the only evidence that I'm aware of.
But I've been told that the dog trail's not accurate either.
I don't know. Well, I mean, there's a chance, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand. That's what I'm saying, is that I don't understand. Look, if we're thinking about this logically, and I'm not saying that you're not, but what I'm saying is, Candace says she's outside helping her mother,
Right.
and that somebody snuck up on the property and took Summer.
Well, that's what we're assuming, because she just disappeared. They didn't see anybody. They didn't see anything. They didn't hear anything.
Because she just disappeared. Are you kidding me? No, she didn't just disappear. If she had wandered off, she would be found. People were doing grid searches. They went all over their property. When he says the police were outside their door, no shit, because they'd been searching their property. Hello, Muscles and Mascara.
Hello. I can't stay in chat very long. I tried.
What's up, girlfriend?
You're so right. So, and I'm in a hotel. I'm packing up my bag to come home on a work trip. So, but this interview was great. Josh did a fantastic job for sure. I don't know how he did it. I'm like you, I couldn't have done it. But the narrative that tries to be spun during all this is really kind of interesting. So, I just wanted to pop up here with you and go backwards and forth with you on it, because I think it's good, and I think there's some interesting information for sure.
Oh, I think it's great.
Yes.
Wolfcat said, poof, she was just gone. Now, you live there. You know the terrain.
Yes,
I've seen other children wander off from their homes in East Tennessee, and they're found.
Yep.
Why can Summer not be found?
Exactly. $1 million question. And I think, I feel like my gut goes back to the same exact thing over and over and over again. And she didn't wander off. She certainly didn't do 10 miles an hour. That was the most hysterical thing I've ever heard. If she did, then she's probably on the circuit somewhere for the Olympic team. So
she's faster than Usain Bolt.
Yeah, exactly.
I cannot believe that. I cannot believe Robin was saying that. And Robin's, I mean, she's a nice lady, but come on, she could get 10 miles in an hour?
Sure. Yeah.
I about fell out of my damn chair. Good morning, Trev.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Trevor.
If you take off on a full sprint right now, Trev, how far can you get?
Definitely not 10 miles.
Okay. Okay. What if you had a cold hot dog and a free peppermint from Sonic?
Then we'd be pushing. Yeah, we'd be pushing it then. Maybe I could. Those hot dogs, that Oscar Mayer pre-workout is where it's at.
I think it's the sugar from the peppermint and the slushy probably is what she was able to push through and really cover some ground then, I'm sure. So.
Okay, hang on. Britt Sadie said, this morning I jogged 4 miles in 53 minutes. Couldn't imagine 10. Yep. Okay, and Britt is fit as a fiddle. Not saying that Summer's not. But this is a grown woman who keeps rubbing it in my face how healthy she is. Like I said on the show yesterday, what are you going to do? Come in tomorrow and tell us your boobs got bigger? But 4 miles in basically an hour. But we're supposed to believe from Robin that Summer can get 10 miles in 1 hour barefoot. Love you, Britt. Love you. Thank you for that. Good morning, True Crime with Shannon.
Hey, y'all. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. The 10 miles in an hour. Come on now. And
Yeah, I was
I'm
sitting here going back to
I'm a
my.
slow runner, but I'm a runner, and then maybe 4, maybe. That's pushing. But
You run marathons,
yep.
Shannon. How far does it take you in 1 hour running at a full pace to get?
Well, I'm a slow runner, but I could do, like 4 or so miles in an hour because I'm slow. Maybe, and my fast people I know, they can maybe do 6.
Yeah.
So I would say if you're saying she can do 10, I'm like you said, she's in the Olympics. Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, the
If she's
wells
not,
are
she
going to
needs to
become
be.
like, damn, because that's insane. Come on now.
I know.
Yeah, I just ran an Army 10 miler myself last year in DC, and I certainly didn't do it in an hour. So certainly did not.
But do you notice how irrational the theories have to be to defend the wells? There's nothing like regular you can say that makes June 15th make sense, and not having the wells involved.
So
No,
true.
You have to
no.
say like she was abducted by aliens, or she flew away, or she ran at a Usain Bolt times 10 pace. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, when I just did a thing the other day and they just were like, everyone's like going, oh, I think that the wells are so great. I'm like, okay, I don't know what else to say to that one. And they're, and then somebody's like, I hope they get their voice back. I'm like, nope, hope not. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to like go back at those people. It's like, are you crazy?
Yeah, because you can't rationally make it make sense in your own head while they say the things they're saying.
No.
well, especially you can't make it make sense that they're good people. Like personally, I
No.
find a theory that even has them as innocent. But if you have a working theory that she was abducted, whatever, if you still can acknowledge that they're not good people, but if you can sit up here and be like, Candace is a great mom, she's so loving, you are so far in left field that you're on like the next field in the next state over.
Yeah, agreed.
Now, what kind of running shoes do you wear, Shannon?
I wear Brooks running shoes. Brooks,
Oh,
yeah,
like
you would like those too. So you would like those too.
I do too. My
What?
blue
I do.
Brooks are the only way I can run.
Yep, that's what I wear too.
You wear what?
I wear Brooks.
Brooks.
Okay, hey, see we're on the right place. See, we're all in the right place.
Yep.
My God, where's my sponsorship money? Why doesn't Brooks Tennis Shoes sponsor us?
I'm starting to wonder the same thing.
Yeah, they ought to become a sponsor on the channel.
Yeah.
We're going to have to work on that. I think we're going to have to work on that.
Got to get that and get some sponsorship for OJ.
Yeah. We'll see if we can get that little tiger to run that fast and that long and that fast. See what we can do with him.
So how fast can OJ run?
Let's see.
Depends on how fast the bacon's ready, right?
So it depends the prize on the other end.
It takes him about a good hour to get from the dresser to the bed. Then he stretches for a little bit, looking like he's doing yoga. And then he goes to his food bowl and he has to stretch and roll. I would say he makes it a good 200 feet in an hour.
Well, he's trying at least, hey. Can't get the effort out there.
He's pacing himself.
He's like, listen, it's just not worth all that.
Rexy did 3.5 miles in 30 minutes on a stationary bike at the gym.
That's good. That's pretty good.
Look at Rexy Bolt go.
See, I mean, most of us, when we run, we ain't fast. But even if you're fast, I mean, come on now. 10 miles. No. I mean, I don't know. Did Robin just throw that number out of her, out of her butt? Or
I don't know what she's doing. But, I mean.
She left, though, apparently, because I tried to, she'd gone, I guess.
Well, she should tell
Candace.
Candace
I asked her about where she came up with this number, because I'm like, do you have to do simple math? What pace that would be?
Yeah.
Simple math would tell you that's just not happening.
Cecilia Nina said rollerblades. Maybe.
Maybe.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to look at this real quick. I really am because, I give credit where credit's due.
You see, yeah. What pace?
Usain Bolt for his absolute supremacy over
Very simple.
200 meters. For close to 10 straight years, he was far and away the most untouchable athlete in track and field. And honestly, he just might have been the most dominant athlete in the world. When you think about Bolt, you think of this. A larger-than-life sprinter with more confidence than pretty much anyone, and although he certainly believed in himself, he wasn't the stone-cold, braggadocious athlete we've seen previously. He was different. He was a relaxed and easygoing runner who would quite often even make jokes directly into the camera. Frequently, we'd see him dancing just moments before his races started. He would even interact with many of the younger workers on the track just moments before he started his races. Man, it's hard not to smile when you see that. I remember watching Bolt during his prime, and I think it's safe to say that he was literally unbeatable when he was at his absolute best. In almost every race, he was so fast that he could easily cruise through the finish line with a huge smile on his face. But he wasn't always considered the greatest sprinter of all time. Throughout his career, we've seen countless world championship titles, multiple Olympic victories, and a ridiculous amount of world record moments. But when did Bolt truly become the greatest sprinter in the history of the sport? What single moment brought him eternal success that solidified him as the undisputed GOAT? This is the story of Usain Bolt's most immortal track and field moment.
Now, Brooke, the only thing about him is he's a sprinter. So I don't know if he could run 10 miles. At least not without training for a while. Because sprinters can run short distance.
He can.
But you gotta train for it because these track and field guys, when they move up from track and field, like those 100 meters and all that, they have to train for a while because I know a lot of them do, and he might not be that fast, but he'd still be fast.
Well, this was good information for me today. I love learning from everyone. That was
interesting,
something else to hear. But I mean, if you're trying to get away from home, would you not sprint? We're not looking at cross-country running.
No.
Of course you're going to be sprinting. Of course you're going to be sprinting. This is absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. And we know that she was barefoot, so she didn't have on any Brooks tennis shoes.
She's like a Kenyan.
That's what I said. What is she, a Kenyan?
Yep. They train from when they can just start walking.
Damn right they do. Damn right they do. Going to get water and shit. Yeah, they do. And they
run everywhere. They do.
Goodness. Walking Dead said I can only do it for a mile. Yeah, I got you.
Hey, that's cool.
Cannot believe this shit.
If we find out, like, if there is an abduction, we'll tell you guys if that develops, but it never did develop. It's never developed.
Yeah, they have absolutely nothing. There's nothing.
Or they have everything, right?
Well, the only thing they've got as far as evidence is the dog trail. The dog that went down the dog trail. That's the only evidence that I'm aware of.
But I've been told that the dog trail's not accurate either.
I don't know. Well, I mean, there's a chance, who knows?
He said there is a chance. Yeah, Ronnie Lawson already said the dogs lost their scent at the road. That doesn't mean anything. But also the dogs everywhere all over their property didn't find her scent. All over the Beach Creek community. They didn't use one of the Wells dogs. They used trained dogs. Did not find her scent.
Also, the evidence thing is funny because I believe it was the second time they came back for their later searches. They didn't even tell the Wells. Don was interviewed and he said he had no idea till the public did. So if they're not going to tell them about planned searches, they're not going to tell them about evidence they find until they're cleared as suspects.
Let's talk about that. I've had several comments on the channel. Why have they not been cleared?
Because Candace knows something.
It's hard to clear when they know for sure. Then when they have either evidence or suspicion from trained individuals that the two of them know something, if not both of them, at least one, just like she just said, because otherwise they would have come out and cleared them a long time ago, especially with the amount of stuff that was on the internet and people that were continuously calling in to these tip lines and saying stuff about Don and Candace. If they could have cleared them, they would have cleared them, period.
Yep.
And they can't.
It took a little over a year to publicly clear Tyler and Brandy. It took 6 months to clear Ed and Lois Smart. It took about 9 months to clear Sean Hornbeck's parents. JC Dugard, the FBI spoke with them and said, we're not going to clear you publicly. We know you have nothing to do with this, but there's an abductor out there. And if they think we're looking at you, then they're going to make sloppy mistakes. That's in their book. But it's been almost 2 years. Why can't they rule out foul play concerning Candace Wells?
Because there is foul play. There's something going on, and they know it.
You don't stop cooperating if you're not guilty of something, of hiding something. Why else would you stop cooperating?
Right. I mean, like Brandy said, she came and told them to do everything. These 2 cases are completely 2 missing babies, and they both did completely different things. That's because their cases are not at all have anything to do with each other. As far as Monkey was abducted and Summer was not. That's the bottom line. And we could all speculate on what exactly happened, but I believe Candace knows. Whether she knows the whole thing or she knows some of it, something she knows. Leslie Earhart, man, that last presser, that look on her face, that's telling. I'm sure there's a lot they would like to say that they can't. TBI.
Nicey Marie said, I bet if Candace's vapes were missing, she'd be searching to find them than her daughter. That's the whole thing. When you want something, you're going to find it. If it's truly missing, you're going to find it. One day we were doing a show and my husband called and said, I can't find my wallet. Well, guess what? I turned the house upside down and I found the wallet. Why aren't they turning everything upside down to find their daughter if she's somewhere around there, according to Pruitt?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand. That's what I'm saying, is that I don't understand. Look, if we're thinking about this logically, and I'm not saying that you're not, but what I'm saying is Candace says she's outside helping her mother,
Right.
and that somebody snuck up on the property and took Summer.
Well, that's what we're assuming because she just disappeared. They didn't see anybody. They didn't see anything. They didn't hear anything. All that they know is that she was gone. And also you got to think about this, Josh. Oh gosh. The boys were the last ones to see Summer. They were upstairs when Candace brought her in. She assumed that they were going to look after her, and everything.
What a crock of crap. Sorry.
It's not the boy's job to watch their sister. And let's face it, unless you're into some shit or you're a negligent parent, you're not just going to lose a child. Now, there are true abductions. I spoke about Monkey Vaughn. I spoke about JC Dugard. I spoke about Elizabeth Smart. I spoke about Sean Hornbeck. Those are so few and far between. Nobody snuck on their property and snatched Summer.
Nope.
You see, the science, the forensic science, knows more than Dawn and Candace. They know. Those dogs know Dawn's scent. They know Candace's scent. They know the boys' scent. They know Grandis's scent. And God bless those dogs. So they know if there's a different scent out there.
Yeah, they would have been barking and everything. There's just no way.
And that's another question. Again with the dogs, because they're mutts doesn't mean that they are not dogs. They're dogs.
Dogs bark at everything because we have a dog and she barks at any tiny noise she hears out around. Anything.
Uh-huh. But that day, the dogs weren't paying attention. When McDonough pulled on the property and other people, the dogs were going ape shit.
Everything's fine. We've never had no problems up there before. You know, nothing like anything. I mean, we've never had any problems. Maybe a few things missing, people stealing stuff at night, you know, and that's, I mean, we've had gas come up missing and other various things come up missing. People.
Dawn, are you 100% sure that you guys aren't going to face charges?
Yeah, I'm pretty 100% sure. Yeah. If I
That,
do
you're not
face
gonna, that
charges,
you'll face no charges?
I'm so glad that Josh asked this. Are you guys gonna face charges? Obviously, without them finding Summer, there won't be charges with Summer because this DA is not competent enough to put together a circumstantial case. I hate to break it to everyone, but that's the truth. Charges in Utah are not going to happen. Negligence, endangerment, all of that stuff. He goes, well, I'm 100% pretty sure. Trevor, have you ever been 100% pretty sure?
Well, you would think once you're 100% sure, you don't need to be pretty sure, but that's just me.
You
But
know,
like maybe 100% pretty sure, maybe kind of, sort of, almost, maybe a little bit close to kind of there percent.
see, the Hawkins County is not even reliable. Like look at the Madalena case. They've been in jail this whole time. There's another one it's like, they know something happened to that kid.
Well, they put them in jail. They put them in jail, though. Let's not confuse people. They put them in jail for not reporting her missing.
Yeah, that's true.
So they're in jail for that. They did report Summer missing.
And they can still do other charges, though, yeah.
Yeah, but why have they not been arrested for any sort of negligence or endangerment? And I don't even mean with Summer. What about their boys?
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, that's like super rare, especially around here in Tennessee, is CPS cases almost never see charges. They take the kid and they do what they do with either sending them back or not, but they almost never charge. And I know people that work in the system, they almost never charge parents unless there's like severe like abuse, SA type of things. It's sad, but they very rarely get charged.
Okay, that's good to know.
Boy, another CPS woes in another area.
No, I mean, that's good to know because I've been wondering. And so obviously someone told him that because
he's not worried.
He's not worried. He said 100% pretty sure.
When it comes to Summer's disappearance or the boys being taken?
Well, what kind of charges? I mean, no.
I don't know. I mean,
what kind of charges? No, what would we be charged with?
Well, I mean, if your children get taken, there has to be a pretty high a high threshold that the judge signs off on. So it's either neglect, abuse, or, if there's a couple other things, imminent danger.
Well, the danger was there was a lot going on. And people sneaking up on our property in the middle of the night, and all kinds of things. You had the psychics down there almost get into a gunfight on our bottom property.
But that wouldn't be why CPS would take children.
Well, they got involved.
He's 100% correct. Because psychics are having a gunfight at the bottom of your driveway, they're not going to take your children. You see, it's hard enough to repossess someone's car in the United States of America. When you take someone's child, there is a good reason to take the child.
Also, if there's some kind of danger or a threat, like they're talking about, like he said, with them having a gunfight at the end of the driveway, almost, they get rid of the threat, not the kids. Imagine we all have on our local news, we see there's shootings in our communities, right? No matter where we live. If every time there was a shooting, they went to every single house nearby and took the kids into CPS custody, there'd be no kids left at home.
That's a fact. And isn't that funny how that story just came to fruition too about the psychics in a gunfight? First time I've ever heard that in 2 years. Isn't that amazing? And then the second part of that is you're exactly right, Trevor. We'd have no kids left at home. Not only that, but they had a reason to take those children, and the fact that they didn't want any more going missing is what I'm going to guess, because they had, obviously there was those kids were living in conditions, maybe CPS wasn't aware of what the actual conditions in that home was, and then they were able to see it, and they're like, we got to get these kids out of here. I don't know their exact reason for. We've never heard what it was for, I don't think. But it certainly wasn't because Dawn asked them to take them, and it certainly wasn't because of psychic gunfights. So
Wasn't there a situation with their living conditions? Was that before or after Summer's disappearance? Maybe Trevor knows.
well,
There's been so many CPS cases. Apparently they talk
Yeah.
about
yeah,
one right before she went missing and prior to, and I've heard that she was almost taken from CPS when she was 18 months old.
yeah.
There's just so many.
That's what I was going to say, Trevor. There's so many. I'm not sure what the cases were
Yeah.
and what was actually truly open at that point. Who knows? We've
Yeah.
heard so many stories.
Well,
And CPS can't confirm. There's nothing that not that they would anyway. They owe us nothing, but they also can't. So whatever's
Right.
said is just out there.
Yeah,
If the
that's
Wells want
exactly
to
right.
say the reason they were taken is because X, Y, and Z, well, then that's what's going to be said. CPS isn't going to come out with a press conference and say, the Wells are lying while we took their kids. Their concern is
Exactly.
taking the kids. They don't care what the narrative is out there. And so we're
That's
going to
right.
hear these rumors from other people about past cases or not past cases or whatever, and that's what all we have to go off of.
Yeah.
true.
Well, and it could be because the TBI said that they can't rule out foul play in the disappearance of Summer. They don't want another kid to go missing.
That's right.
And the day that CPS speaks out on things like that, I'm going to be furious.
Me too.
They're social workers, and I'm not putting them down. They don't need to tell people children's business. There's too many households involving children in adult business as it is. It used to be if mom and dad were having a talk about work, the bills, wanted to watch, whatever they had on TV, the kids were sent out of the room. Go to your room, go do this, go outside, whatever. And now it's just like, willy-nilly. The kids, they sit there and they listen to mom on the phone. Talking about the bills, talking about that asshole at work. Leave the kids out of it.
Yep. I got sent to murder them all the time, or they told me you need to go out of here and do something else because we got to talk, or they go in their bedroom.
Yeah.
That's how it used to be.
Yeah, mom and dad have to talk. That's it.
Mhm.
That's how it used to be. But now, I mean, kids are like involved in adult business. I
I
don't
don't
get
really
it.
want to be involved in my age of my parents' business, but they put you in it as the older you get.
Well, I mean, when you get older, yeah, I mean, you have to get involved in your parents' business, whether they
Yeah,
like it or not. But at some point, you have to. But this is ridiculous.
these little kids, yeah.
Ridiculous. Then you'll be like me, who used to listen in on my parent talking, and I would go to school the next day and tell my first grade teacher, "Oh, guess what?" I mean, that's what happens. But I was a different kid.
As soon as Summer come up missing, they pulled up and said that they had to open a case because of Summer's disappearance. I don't know how all that works. I know nothing about CPS. I wish I did. If looking back, I would have thrown them off the property and told them to get lost.
CPS.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now I know better. I
Right.
wouldn't allow them even on my property.
But if they come with a court order, right, you can't stop
No,
them.
well, they didn't come with a court order. That welfare, you have the right to tell them. You have the right.
Okay, and he's right. If they don't come with a warrant or a court order and they come to the house and I'm here to check on the kids, just say, "Nope. Nope." They knock on the door. That's fine. That is not what happened here. This is not some government agency that came in there like Mission Impossible and stole their children. I guarantee there was a court order or they wouldn't have been able to take the kids.
Yeah, and they show up with police. When
Yeah.
they remove a kid, they almost always show up with a local deputy or officer and with an order saying, "We're taking this kid." And then if you interfere, you're interfering with a court order, and then you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, and why would they not have a court order going up during something like this right here where one of the other children's been missing? They know who they're dealing with. They didn't just show up on the front porch and say, "Oh, give us your children." That's not how this worked.
Yeah, I don't think CPS has time for that. They barely have time to take care of their cases that they have reported.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the time they don't show up with orders is when they're investigating a case. Like if I call in that my neighbor's kid, yada yada yada, and they show up, the first time they show up, they're not going to have a court order. They're going to show up and voluntarily want to talk to you. That's when you can probably be like, no, no thanks. But when they come to take your kid, they have to get a court order for removal, and they will likely show up with a police officer.
They better, or you'll get some psychics at the bottom of the driveway having a gunfight, turning it on you.
Yeah.
That could be entertaining, except for being on you.
Yeah. With all that pandemonium going on. And for those that know, when all of this started, there was no YouTube. I mean, people were talking about Summer's case on YouTube, don't get me wrong. But the YouTube pandemonium didn't stop. Did not start, excuse me, until after the boys were removed. That's when Dawn made certain friends and started going on certain channels.
Yep, and don't you just love how all that shade is always thrown at everybody on YouTube, that YouTube made it this and YouTube made it that. Now, did they? Yes. Has there been people that have made it that? Absolutely. But it was self-created.
Mhm.
If you were so appalled by what was going on YouTube, why would you turn it on, A, and B, why would you get on people's panels drunk as a skunk and just playing into exactly what everybody was suspected of you doing to begin with, and all you did was prove them right? So stand in front of the mirror and point the finger at yourself and call yourself the dumbass. That's what you need to do. God, but we don't do that because we'd hate for them to take ownership in anything, so.
Facts.
Oh, no. Lord, no. And in most families, when something bad happens, whether it's the death of a goldfish or the death of a great grandma, everyone comes in together tighter. How the hell did they manage to crumble that fast and lose not one, not 2, but 3 children while they're looking for a 4th. No, that makes no sense. Makes 0 sense.
Right, tell them, get the hell out of your house. They're not coming in your door.
I've heard that. Yeah. Yeah. I've heard
And
that.
if you don't exercise your rights, you're just screwing yourself. But I was kind of willing to work with them, thinking, well, these are nice people. They're, I was a dumbass, and yeah, I let them take my kids. I let them when I could have kept them. Yes,
I mean, I
but
don't.
I was a dumbass.
But
I
how?
I pretty much let them take them because I didn't know how to tell them to go to hell. They're not taking my kids. But it was a
Don tells people to get effed all the time. You're telling me that he doesn't know how to tell CPS to go to hell? They're social workers.
Yeah. Well, so I just love the narrative that he tries to spin. Like you could tell them to go get effed all you want to, Don, but if they had a court order, then you're the one going to get effed in the end. You didn't tell them that. That never even crossed your mind because you knew there wasn't a damn thing you could do about it, or you're going to go to jail too. So that's the reason why you let your kids get took, is because you didn't have a choice in the matter. Period.
And
That's
that's
how
what
that works.
And he knew he was on probation and he would go back to jail. But he blew that a few months later, even though people say he's so well connected in the county. He got blown in for violation of probation for driving drunk.
Yeah. Yep. And furthermore, if it was so dangerous there because people were coming to their house, sneaking up there in the middle of the night and all that, well, you just told us that the cops were also sitting outside of your door for days and days and days. You just told us that. So, which is the lie? The other part of that is if they were in so much imminent danger, they wouldn't have left the whole family in that home. They would have put them elsewhere for their own protection. That's what police do for people that are in true danger, not just jerk their kids from them. Because at the time of need, whenever they've got a kid, if that kid was truly abducted, if Summer was truly come and took, and all this stuff, and they were concerned, first of all, they're going to let the public know, because the public's going to be in an uproar, rightfully so, if we have people running around here abducting children. The second part of that is if they're in imminent danger, they're going to protect the entire family and do their best to keep everybody together, because it's bad enough they've got one that's missing. They're not just going to jerk the kids and send them somewhere else to a complete stranger's house in a time of turmoil and do this to a family and separate them because they're in danger. No. They'll keep them together and move them because they're in danger. So spin another line of bullshit, Don, because I'm not buying it.
There you go. Nope, you're exactly right.
a bad situation in my house. It was. We had all kinds of stuff going on, and we had these YouTubers creating the mob type atmosphere, and people coming at our house. You seen it, Bullhorn Betty and all them at the bottom of our driveway screaming, and this stuff's been going on.
That was in December of 2021. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying I agree with it, but that was in December. The boys were taken in July. You go, Trev.
Yeah, I mean, December, July, he probably needs to look at his calendar again, because them being there in December, unless CPS had like a magic 8 ball they could see the future into, I don't believe that December had any effect on what they did to get their kids removed in July. And also at that point, that's the least time that people were going to be involved as early on. YouTubers still learning about the case, learning where they even are. And then later on, people start showing up, which, by the way, there are plenty of YouTubers that he's invited on the property. So he should also take that into account. He hates YouTubers so much, but I've seen numerous ones that have been on the property allowed.
Well, that's a straight fact laid down right at his feet. So good point, Trevor.
He only likes them when they're doing what he wants them to do.
There you go.
That's the bottom line.
And you're exactly right, Shannon. When they are kissing his newly showered ass with his headphones on, he's fine with it. But the truth is, and this is going to upset some people, him and Candace like the attention. They like the drama. They love it. Hell, they made $300 last night for doing nothing.
It's disgusting.
Muscles, how much money did you put in the Cash App last night?
Not a damn dime. Not a damn dime. I'll pay all the money, and I'll pay all kinds of dang money if it would mean taking up a pot of money and sending it so that they go arrest these skanks, hind because for what? And that are talking about Don owes all this back pay and I guess it's child support, I guess, for when he was in jail. I don't give a shit. Who cares? Do you think that money you're taking up for them is going to go to that anyway? Because you are sadly mistaken. Of all the thousands of dollars that they've gotten off this freaking app, are you serious right now? Whatever.
Yeah, $15 a day. 4,300 he needs. Well, he makes more than 15 an hour. I mean, just when you get off work every day, just make a routine there in Springdale, Arkansas, and get a $15 money order and mail it in. Put a stamp on it, mail it in every day.
Have God do the responsible thing, get a separate checking account and transfer freaking $30 every time you get paid or whatever it may be. Whatever. Make some kind of form of payment that way. But no, we should go around and beg people on YouTube because they're watching this crazy, crazy situation that they have created and orchestrated, and we should pay them for it. Oh, right. Okay. Not this girl.
Doesn't show that because OG checked it, OG Bosel, and said he owes zero to Hawkins County because $748.30 was paid on May 10th.
I'm sure that was from a Cash App donations too.
You can put that to the bank too, sis. I guarantee it was.
The only way I would give them any money is if they're going to tell us what happened this summer, the honest truth, and they will never do that.
No.
Never.
The fact that they would be motivated by money to do that is just disgusting anyway, and we know that that's the truth. So
$70,000 wouldn't do it. Nothing's going to do it now.
That's exactly right.
For a long time, out at my job site, at my boss's house, everywhere. Just constantly harassing everybody everywhere. You know, there's online with my boss's wife and everything else. And just everybody. And everybody either jumped on board with this mob to attack us in every way. And yeah, I felt after Summer's disappearance, I was in my mind, I'm thinking, what's next? What's going to happen next? And I felt it was danger. It was dangerous for my boys. It absolutely was dangerous. And yes, so I was willing to, I didn't want them at my house at that time. It was dangerous, bro, for reals.
Okay, well, I'm not disputing that, but so this thing that Kathy puts out today, this text between Candace and Kathy, is that accurate?
Well, let me just say this, okay? Look, I'm just a drywall. I don't make tons of money. I don't, man. I'm sorry. I went to college, you know. I've been in prison. I spent my time in prison, though, as wisely as I could. And
Good Will Hunting. Don has been to college. He had all of these credits, everything, but they couldn't put a degree together for him.
Did he really go to college? Do you think that's a bunch of shit?
He went to incarceration college. He said that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he took something. Oh.
He did his little jail course.
On our dime. Cool. All right, cool. Yo, Hawkins.
Oh, I trust it. Yes, honey. It was all on our dime. Absolutely. The only thing that they've ever done has been on our dime. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Gosh, they could take 1 ounce of responsibility for themselves.
It wouldn't that be a miracle? Not even a possibility that they could do that. They're too. No, they can't do that.
Gotta be kidding me. I've been to college. Listen to this.
I'm in college.
Oh, I love it.
And you don't have to go to college to make a living. You can go to trade school. There's a lot of things you can do.
Sure, I have no problem if he said I just went to grade school. I did all this stuff. Well, that's great, Don. I mean, awesome. But you make decent money.
Yeah, Brian Koberger also went to college too, Don, and he's a piece of shit human being. So here's that. That doesn't make you a better person because you went to college. You're still shit human being. You're still a shit parent. There's that.
My God, like I said, there's people that are, I mean, whatever you want to call it. They have a trade and they're good at it. They make more money than doctors and lawyers.
Oh yeah, you could be like a plumber and you make good money. People make good money doing that kind of stuff.
But he says, I don't have doctor money, so I can't put my kids in basketball and football. No.
And then, of course, later he'll say he keeps about 5,000 in the bank at a time.
Mm-hmm. But people are just putting themselves in debt by giving them money. Make that all make sense, people. Make it all make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Stayed in college the whole time I was in prison. But the guards would not let me graduate. They would move me around and I'd have to go to a different college. So I have all kinds of college credit in different colleges, but I don't have a degree in anything.
Yeah.
I went to 4 different colleges.
Okay, gotcha.
And
this is like when he said he tried to go to the Army, but his IQ was too high for them to let him in.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah. Why does he think anybody would believe that? We can see your IQ level. We get it. And you don't even have to be smart, Don. Like, it's not even about being smart. It's not about making all this money. It's about being a decent freaking human being.
I found the clip of when he was trying to go. Hang on.
So why do you think I should work for the National Security Agency? Well, you'd be working on the cutting edge. You'd be exposed to the kind of technology that you wouldn't see anywhere else because we've classified it. Superstring theory, chaos math, advanced algorithms. Code breaking. Well, that's one aspect of what we do. Oh, come on. I mean, that is what you do. You guys handle 80% of the intelligence workload. You're 7 times the size of the CIA. We don't like to brag about that, Will. But you're exactly right. So the way I see it, the question isn't, why should you work for the NSA? The question is, why shouldn't you? Why shouldn't I work for the NSA? It's a tough one. But I'll take a shot. Say I'm working at the NSA and somebody puts a code on my desk, something no one else can break. Maybe I take a shot at it, maybe I break it. And I'm real happy with myself because I did my job well. But maybe that code was the location of some rebel army in North Africa or the Middle East. And once they have that location, they bomb the village where the rebels are hiding. 1,500 people that I never met, never had no problem with, get killed. Now the politicians are saying, oh, send in the Marines to secure the area because they don't give a shit. It won't be their kid over there getting shot, just like it wasn't them when their number got called because they were all pulling a tour in the National Guard. It'll be some kid from Southie over there taking shrapnel in the ass. He comes back to find that the plant he used to work at got exported to the country he just got back from, and the guy who put the shrapnel in his ass got his old job because he'll work for 15 cents a day and no bathroom breaks. Meanwhile, he realizes the only reason he was over there in the first place was so that we could install a government that would sell us oil at a good price. And of course, the oil companies use a little skirmish over there to scare up domestic oil prices. A cute little ancillary benefit for them, but it ain't helping my buddy at $2.50 a gallon. They're taking their sweet time bringing the oil back, of course. Maybe they even took the liberty of hiring an alcoholic skipper who likes to drink martinis and fucking play slalom with the icebergs. It ain't too long till he hits one, spills the oil, and kills all the sea life in the North Atlantic. So now my buddy's out of work. He can't afford to drive, so he's walking to the fucking job interviews, which sucks because the shrapnel in his ass is giving him chronic hemorrhoids. And meanwhile, he's starving because every time he tries to get a bite to eat, the only blue plate special they're serving is North Atlantic scrod with Quaker steak. So what did I think? I'm holding out for something better.
And that's what Don was doing. He was holding out for something better.
Dang.
I mean, what would you do? He went to all of these colleges and school, and I'm not saying college is the way to go, but he has a career. I never had seen that interview of him with the NSA before.
It's pretty good that you got it.
And I mean, and you know, someone's going to have to talk to our military that they would not let him in the army because his IQ was too high.
Mm.
You know, but I don't make great money.
Well, I saw you. I saw on Candace's channel. I saw you. I mean, you obviously have been doing it for a long time. You do great work, but
yeah, but it's not enough money to do much of anything, though.
I can understand that.
But the thing of it is where the boys are at. They're doing. These people got money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know how much money. I don't know a whole lot about them, but I know that they're in basketball, football. They're doing great. You know.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for them. I'm not mad. Yeah, I'm hurt in my heart. Yes. Yeah, but I'm happy that they're happy.
So it is. So the text is true.
I believe it is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I am sorry to hear about that.
Well, honestly. It's okay. I mean, it's just the way it's the way it is. I'm just, me and Candace are happy for them, and we're just, we're gonna do whatever is best for them. Even if it hurts.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand that, and also, the whole piling on, and I get it all, but the problem with it all is all of that is taken care of. The boys are taken care of. You and Candace are, working, but Summer is still gone with no answers.
Right.
And you're saying, well, the cops have nothing, and I'm not even sure. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But
they might have something. But if they had something, they would be all over it. You know what I mean? They'd have her. So we know they don't have nothing. I mean, let's be. I mean, blatantly honest or whatever. I mean, if they had anything, they would have her. Or they.
He said, "Let's be blatantly honest. They have nothing, or they would have her." Now, I will agree with Dawn. I will give credit where credit's due. There have been no searches in the Beach Creek community looking for Summer. So, where is she? We don't know.
Well, let's also just call a spade too, and just mention the fact that you had opportunities to get your children back and you pissed them away and chose to do nothing with it. So no, you don't get to make the choice that you're not going to do anything. You give up that right by not doing what they asked you to do. That's on you. That's where your responsibility comes in, and you need to take ownership of it and own up to everybody and say, we didn't do what we were told to do. This is how they laid it out to us, and we chose to piss that right away too. So take some ownership in it, take some self-responsibility, self-reflect, and look at the mirror and blame your damn selves, and don't come to YouTube asking us to bail your asses out, because I'm over that.
Well, and they're raising money right now for an Xbox game system for the boys. But who's going to get the Xbox? If they can't see the boys, if they can't call the boys, how are the boys going to get the Xbox? You think in this home with doctor money, they don't have a game system? It's going to be him and Candace sitting around playing Grand Theft Auto, playing Minecraft. How are they going to get it to them?
And I highly doubt that. I don't know the rules, but that they would even let them, because just think about it emotionally. You tell these kids that they're, likely not going home, or as Don just said, probably not going home. And then you say, but we do have a gift from your parents. I mean, you can't just keep like, in and out, in and out. Your parents have this, but they can't talk to you. But you can't have it both ways.
No.
Yeah.
That's not good on the kids.
Yeah, I think the kids probably at this point are they just want to hopefully live their life in a better way, and obviously they have a better situation now than they've ever had.
Yeah, they finally have the chance. They finally have an opportunity.
When they become 18, if they want to reach back out to them, that's their right. But now until then, leave them alone.
Yeah,
They
then
don't need
there's
an Xbox. They don't need an Xbox. They need to be left alone. What, Dawn and Candace going to get an Xbox? Where are you going to send it? To Ben Hill Road? Where are you going to send it? How's it going to get there? They're in Springdale, Arkansas. Are they going to drive over there, pick it up? Is it going to be sent to the hotel, which has terrible reviews and roaches all over it? And they're going to sit there and play a game of stripped Minecraft every night on the Xbox and then jump up there and yell because they didn't get 2 controllers?
Ridiculous.
You couldn't pay $30 a month in child support. That's $1 a day.
They have other missing kids. There's so many missing kids. It's
Well,
unbelievable.
that is another question I have. So, you say somebody, that you're assuming that somebody stole
Yeah.
or came up and took her off the property.
Yes, it's an assumption. Yes.
It definitely is because you didn't see anybody.
Right.
But if that is the case, why wouldn't Olive Beach Creek be freaked out that there's somebody out there stealing kids?
I know, right? That's a good question. Yeah, I'm upset about a lot of different things and the way things played out. I'm really upset, but I don't want to sit here and put people on blast or anything like that or talk bad. I've done enough of that.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I'm upset about a lot of different things.
Look, I mean, like I said, I can, and I appreciate you coming up here and being respectful and not, screaming at me. And by the way, I totally understand why you would want to. I get it. And I don't know how much, I know recently you pay a bit of attention to the show and stuff. I'm not sitting here going, look, do I think that I'm better than you? I truly, honestly, in my heart, I do not think that. I'll tell you what. No, I'll tell you what.
I know I got problems. I know I got problems. I've had problems, that I've been working on. We all got problems we got to work on,
Yeah.
I mean, that's I don't know.
Well, look, my story. I know yours.
Right.
We've both had to deal with the system growing up, and I've been to parole hearings. I've been to custody hearings. I've been to all that kind of stuff.
There comes a time in life. There comes a time where our childhood is in the rear view mirror. And we have to learn how to get through this thing called adulthood. We have to learn how to pay our bills. We have to learn how to take a bath, fix dinner for ourselves, raise our children. See, when you're an adult, you have no excuses and people have no shits to give for you. Unless it concerns a child. Then we're all up in arms. Thank you, Joy. 5 Crime Lines and Lies memberships. Go ahead, Muscles.
There also comes a point where, if Dawn had come on here and Candace had came on here and they just threw it out and said, okay, we've not been the greatest parents. We've not always made the right decisions. We've not made the right choices. Well, all of us could relate to that because we're human beings and we're never going to make the right decisions every day, all day. None of us are. We all make mistakes with raising our kids. We make mistakes with whatever profession we chose to go in, or maybe we pissed it away. Maybe we opted to do drugs and we had to learn from it. The key is if you're half of ass of a human being, then you pick up and you learn from those mistakes and you don't try to utilize it as being a victim for the rest of your life because you made a wrong decision, and you certainly don't use that in your parental skills of how you raise your children. The other piece of that is maybe when you realize that you couldn't pay for one kid, you stopped having children. You did the responsible thing and did what it did to prevent, if you wanted to have relations with your wife, then you'll figure out how to not have more children to compound your problem and then blame it on everybody else. That's how life works. But when you sit up there at 50, whatever years old you are, Dawn, and you continuously try to blame everybody else for your problems, then you've not learned from life's mistakes and you're never going to. You just want somebody to bail your ass out. Well, hear it now, hear it from me as a member of Hawkins County. I'm not bailing your ass out anymore. And if you think for a second that I'm going to take this victim game that you're trying to play and spin for you and Candace for the bullshit that you've pulled, you need to take your shit somewhere else because you're not getting sympathy here anywhere. End of story. That's how I feel. And I'll get off my soapbox.
Hey, way to go. Well said.
Well, we heard from Don, before he went to jail, and he explained, how he's been looking for Summer. Listen to this.
Every night when I wake up to piss before I go to sleep, I go to sleep. I go to sleep every night praying for Summer and begging God and asking Him why. Very first thought I have every night when I wake up to piss before I go to sleep, I go to sleep. I go to sleep every night praying for Summer and begging God and asking Him why.
When I go piss, I think it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Glad he thinks of her before he takes a pee.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I had to sit in front of judges and parole office or parole boards and say, look, I don't want to go back to my dad if he ever gets out. I don't want to do it.
So was you in foster care then after all that?
I never went to foster care. I went to live with my grandparents. But what happened originally was that, so back in '88, it wasn't like it was now. They sent us with, I believe it was my aunt and uncle, after we were taken. I don't know exactly where we went that first night. But growing up, I had to live with the whole, is my dad coming back for us or is he not? Do I have to deal with this or so I can empathize and I can sympathize. And, I don't think I'm not telling you that you're just this terrible, terrible human. Look, I have my thoughts about you, Dawn, and I haven't been shy about them. And you have your thoughts about me and you haven't been shy about them. But the thing is, money isn't enough for the kids to stay in foster care. Meaning they won't just say, hey, the kids want to there's more to it. And I'm not asking you to get into the details of it because it's truly not really my business at all.
Well, we could fight for the kids. We have the right to fight for them boys. But then I have to ask myself, living on that hill, we're so far out in the county, there's no way that we could provide. I don't know what I want my kids to be happy.
I understand that. I understand that. And so, is there any finality?
Who wants their children to be happy with another family of strangers? No more mom, dad, grandma, aunt, uncle, whatever. You say things like, "Hey, Bill. Hey, Teresa." There's no family connection, and you're doing nothing to get them back, and do not get it twisted. I'm not wanting them to get their kids back because they've failed too many times. But to sit there and say, "Oh, I just want them to be happy," because you can't make them happy? There's people that make, oh my God, next to nothing, and their kids are happier than clams in salt water. They're pigs and shit. They're fine.
We hear
What
all
is going on here?
we hear all the time that those kids love being with that family. They say, look at the pictures. Candace was such a good mom. Those kids loved being there. So why just now are they not able to be happy now at home?
Snazzy said, seriously, if they ever charge them with anything concerning Summer, can you imagine how long that case will be with all these videos they will have to play for the jury? It will last 6 months. You're right, Snazzy. Thank you for the super sticker. Thank you. Does money make things easier? Yes, it does for mom and dad. It's easier to pay the bills when you have money. But kids don't know the difference until they go to school and they realize that someone has better clothes than they do. They can see who has a fancier car. They know who walks to school. They know who rides the bus. Now, that is a difference. But I don't believe that this foster family is full of Supreme Court justices and doctors, or they would
No,
be foster parents.
you know what the other part of that is you don't have to make a ton of money to make a happy, safe home and love your children. That takes $0 to love. You chose to not love the way they deserve to be, and you chose to not make sacrifices for your children. I know everybody in this room or in this chat right now has made a sacrifice, probably if they're a mother, or they've made a sacrifice for another human being. I can promise you there's people in here that has made sacrifices for other people, be it kids or whoever it is. But they've chose to make the sacrifices because it's the right, responsible thing to do. And that's what they've made it work. Put themselves on the back burner, not got their drugs that week. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
To survive and make sure that they can provide for their children. These are responsibilities of things that you chose not to do. So stop blaming everybody else.
Well, there's the matriarch of the family right there. I put a picture up. How much toilet paper does one person need? You're telling me you can't clean up around yourself? You don't see all that trash around you? Gotta be kidding me. You had money to buy Hunter a vape that day, but you can't buy Summer a little bag of fries? You had
Yeah.
money to get Hunter drunk, but you didn't have any money to buy a bunch of Sonic to take back to the kids?
Well, and for to believe their story, we've got Don going out and buying crack, remember, in Knoxville, and handed it out like it's cotton candy to druggies because he wanted to prove to the cops he didn't have to sell his daughter to buy crack. Oh, okay. If we're to believe that ignorant, stupid ass story, there's that one too.
Yep. Insane. So you've got money to throw around like that, but you can't do the right thing by your children.
No, I mean the money cop out is such a it's so ridiculous. I mean, there's two parents in the household. He works and he does a job that makes decent money. Not to mention the fact that they act like nobody else has ever struggled or sacrificed. Just like Muscle said, that's what parents do. I mean, I've lived in have one other sibling and lived in a single parent household since I was 10. My dad died when I was 10. My mom didn't have a choice but to raise us on her own. And you know, she did. She sacrificed sometimes, and sometimes we did struggle. But not once did we not feel love. Not once was CPS at our door wanting to take us because our house wasn't in good condition to live. And not once was she like, they're going to be better off with somebody else, because love is free and sacrifice is made when you actually care.
Yeah. Priorities, and they don't have priorities over anyone but themselves.
Well, you have a good mama, Trevor.
Amen to that. I wouldn't be here without her.
What parent in here has not sacrificed their own wants, needs, and well-being for their children? I guarantee not one.
It's a rite of passage as a parent, my opinion. Even if you make plenty of money, maybe money's not the sacrifice that you had to make. Maybe you had to make a sacrifice on a job, or maybe you had to make a sacrifice here or there. It don't always have to even be money. But as a parent, that's just what you do. You call an audible and you back up and punt. That's how it works. That's how it works in life, period. You don't even have to be a parent to experience that. It's just taking responsibility, sucking it up, realizing that I'm not the only human being here on this planet, and I need to do the right thing, and I'm going to go do it. But you can see that this man can't even sit on a panel. He said he made ownership of yeah, we've made mistakes. Well, haven't we all? We're born to make mistakes. That's what happens. But you choose to do the same repetitive bullshit over and over. That's the definition of insanity, is doing it over and over again and expecting different results, and you're never going to get them. That's called insanity. And that's the life you live in. And so you're going to continue to get insane things to happen to you because it's a life that you choose to live and spin in day after day. Instead of being a man and standing up and saying, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to do what's right for my children, and I don't give a shit who it pisses off. And Candace, if you're not on board, then get the hell out. That's how it works. That's how it works. But be a coward and cow down.
Exactly. Pat K said, I thought sacrifice is part of parenting. Sarah said it's a requirement as a parent. Elaine says my son came first. Tamara said 2 females on 1 property. Those children should have been fed properly and clean clothes, in my opinion. So my question is, with Grandis right there, and she's the grandma. Sorry, Grandis. Does she not know how to turn on a stove or turn on an oven? Does she not know how to run water and clean out a pan and make a meal? Instead, you've got these vagabond friends of Candace's that she digs up, bringing food to the house. Half of it goes to waste and rot because they're not going to do anything with it. They're on the internet all the time. They look at YouTube videos about bears. You can't put together how to make a meal and properly clean your house? No. No. P said a hot plate is all they had, no stove, no oven. Well, then they can use the hot plate. Plug it in and cook.
Amen.
To it yet?
Well, no, not yet. I mean, we're still in court, and we're still working on ourselves and doing everything they ask. We're complying with everything they ask. So that's all going great and everything like that.
I get so sick of these people. that are doing whatever they want to put in their bodies because they want to keep doing whatever they want to do. They want to continue to drink from sunup to sundown. They want to continue to stay on the drugs. They want to continue all of this. They can't have one day of being uncomfortable to go, oh, we're still working on ourselves.
And that's why I stayed up here and preach, Brooks, is that right there, because they can't make those own decisions and they can't sacrifice what they need to learn from the decisions from people bailing them out all the time and donating money to them, which is why it pisses me off. People have to hit rock bottom to figure out how to make it back to the top and climb their way back up there. Well, guess what? They've hit rock bottom multiple times and people bail them out. They're never going to learn. And then you're going to be standing around 6 months from now going, Don, we just give you blah, blah, blah amounts of money. What did you do with it? Well, you bailed him out. That's what. Make them fight for something. And if they choose not to fight, then that's on them. It's when you walk the hell away and say, forget it. That's why it pisses me off that people constantly are putting money in their pockets because they're never going to learn. And for the sakes of the children that they actually know where, well, they don't know where they are, but for the sake of the children, even if they never get their kids back, which God forbid they ever do, but if they do, if they never get their kids back, then learn from your mistake and don't be a piece of shit human the rest of your life, because you don't have to be. What you could do is use this in favor of doing something and helping other families who might be struggling and going through the same thing, because I know addiction is real. I understand every bit of that. But you could do something good out of this and you choose to be shit humans still. That's why it pisses me off when people put money in their pocket.
Well, because they're not going to pay their bills with it. They're not going to enroll for Experian and get their credit score up and pay off past bills. They're not going to do anything. We know what's going to happen. We know exactly what's going to happen.
Imagine that credit score.
Woo.
First one to start with a decimal.
Ooh, dear God.
But, you know, after, I don't know. I think they're kind of scared too because somebody took their sister, so they don't want to go back to that hill. I know that.
Well, okay, I can understand that too.
But where they're at, I know that they're doing really good, and so I'm kind of, you know, it must be like close to a school, living in a nice neighborhood, nice house, and so they have everything going on for them right now, and I wouldn't want to mess that up.
I look, man, I can understand that. I can even respect that.
I appreciate that
because, you know, it sounds like that they did need a change, and maybe, you know, maybe their life will vastly improve over the following years, and they can just become productive members of society. I mean, that is, and but the thing is, they do have that opportunity.
Uh-huh. That would be great. Who could ask for any more than that, you know?
The only thing that just haunts me is if somebody came up on that property, Don, Candace would have seen them.
Yeah, unless they was hiding real good, you know.
Well, in the middle of the day?
I know, right?
With a bunch of dogs?
Well, them dogs ain't the type of dogs. They just.
Yeah, but they bark at people.
Them dogs. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. But if they might have known, they could have been possibly known the person. They got friendly with the dogs too. But they're mostly will just lick you to death and want you to pet them. Some dogs, you know. I wish to God I would have had some German shepherds and stuff like that.
Yeah, you told me that they, but they would let you know if there was a stranger on the property.
Sometimes they just bark at rocks, bro, for reals.
I mean, yeah. Mutts are mutts. I understand that.
Them hounds there.
Yeah. I'm confused by the lack of information.
I get how it looks. I totally understand.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. I mean,
What do you think?
so
That admission from him actually gives me chills. He said, I know how it looks.
Yeah, I cried during that portion. Just just to be completely honest, it made me cry.
Yeah, I know how it looks. The dogs bark at rocks. The dogs bark at rocks. No, the dogs don't. And if you had a stranger on your property, the dogs would have come unglued. They're not trained dogs. They're like Josh said, mutts are mutts. Mutts get they get more Riley than anyone else. But he said, I know how it looks. Well, how
Well,
does
sorry, Brooks.
No, go ahead, girlfriend.
He also says that the boys don't want to go back to that hill because they know their sister was taken by somebody. How do they know that, Dawn? Is that the narrative that you've spun to the boys and you've got them afraid that that's what's happened? They don't know that because nobody does. Nobody knows that. So how do the boys know that? Did they see the person? Have you told TBI that? I mean, it's just, the whole thing is so stupid. And if the dogs barks at rocks, then that means they'll bark at freaking humans. Just as an FYI, Dawn, if they bark at rocks, that means they would have certainly barked. So, thank you.
Yeah, animals don't really attack inanimate objects. They just don't.
I'll just never be able to understand how, and I mean, this is sad to think about, but how Summer wouldn't have a reaction if someone came up there and started coming after her and took her, that there would be no noise at all. Even if Candace somehow over the other side of the building couldn't see this abductor, all someone would have to do is scream once and she would hear her.
Or her brothers, or her grandmother. There were five other humans there. Come on.
That's why Jody Sue's story of that she heard a scream and her kids heard a scream just doesn't make sense.
That's right. They were the only ones to hear it, but she was taken from their yard. Okay.
Yeah, she's further down, so nobody in the house, outside the house, heard it, but they heard it down there.
Well, Jody Sue also said when she was first on Facebook about this, she didn't know anything was going on. So what story is it?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
It can't be both ways. And now she was in the creek looking for Summer. She had Blue Roof Dawn with her, looking for Summer. Frank Light was down there looking for Summer. No. No one knew there was a problem until all the deputies showed up. Barb Murray, thank you for the super sticker, said I put 2 rocks on my desk and my dog didn't bark. Well, those are some lazy rocks.
I freaking love these people. That was awesome. I couldn't get to my mute button fast enough. That was awesome.
Yeah.
What would those dogs think if they saw her running at a pace that could cover 10 miles? As a dog, I'd be freaked out.
A dog would follow, wouldn't they?
My dog would bark and raise Cain because when I get crazy and do stupid stuff like that around my house just to get a reaction from the dog barks and raises hell. So even more reason that the dog would bark.
Yeah,
Dude, you're faster than the flash of light.
You play around, you jump around. I mean, those dogs had to bark with those kids being around doing anything. So they would have, if those dogs would have heard her scream, make any noise or anything, they would have been barking.
So you're sure that you're not going to be found responsible for this, even if say that it's just that you guys had nothing to do with Summer going missing. And by the way, I'll tell you this, your story or what you've told the police or what you've told the public, and I'm assuming that they're similar, is
Yeah.
that
I tried to stick to the truth 100% because that way I don't have to worry about changing my story or keeping up with it.
well, that's
I have
true,
no,
but
I have no reason to lie, you know.
it's a simplistic story. It's a very simple story, and it's easy to remember. But it also, whenever I've heard the story, I always go, "Hey, this would make the most sense." It's like plausible deniability, because if Summer wandered off, Candace could get charged with neglect. If Summer got hurt, somebody could be charged with neglect. Now, saying somebody kidnapped her, basically you're saying it's out of our hands.
Well, the only possibility, and I don't think it's a very good one, but it is. I think there is a possibility that Summer got mad because she asked the boys to go downstairs and play with toys with her, and they was too busy playing their games or whatever. And there is the possibility she got mad, you know, and stomped down the street saying nobody cares or something in her mind. I think that's a possibility.
Okay,
That's so damn ridiculous.
this is where it's at. There's a possibility she could have gotten mad at her brothers and she stormed off. Listen, everyone.
That way I don't have to worry about changing my story or keeping up with it.
Well, that's true, but
I have no.
He just said that way I don't have to worry about changing my story or keeping up with it. But he says there's a good possibility that she just wandered off. Let's talk about this before we hear this clip.
No way. She was used to being ignored, I think, because they said she sat on that tire swing all the time. She played outside by herself. No, I'm not buying it.
Not only that, but he uses the word, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Not only that, but he uses those words and he says that Summer might have stomped off saying nobody cares. You know, to me, that's a familiar term that they've heard her say. So is that truly how Summer felt? You know, very well possible that she did that, but you can't tell me that the people in that there was nobody that saw that. And if you thought that's what happened, then you should have told that 2 years ago, and you should have said that she was mad at her brothers because they wouldn't go and play with her toys with her, and they said that they watched her walk off because she was mad. There were 5 other human beings at this house. So why would that have not have been a story that we heard 2 years ago that had maybe a little bit of validity to it? But I can promise you that over 100 and some agencies would have found this young lady, or someone would have seen something. But that's not the story we had 2 years ago. So Dawn, we go back to the start of every bit of this. And when there's bullshit that comes out 2 years later because you've listened to what people have thought would be a plausible story that they might have believed then, you can't use that as the actual truth and the facts now. That's not how this works. It's just not.
Well, see, I have a small hunch of where he pulled that story from, and who knows. But, you know, there's if we remember the Athena case, right? The FedEx guy, all of that, where she was alleged to have gotten an argument with her stepmom, right, and walked off towards the road, and when the whole incident happened. Well, there's a creator that often speaks with Dawn on panels, we all see it, who compares these cases a lot. Also implying, you know, that Tree Trimmers or a FedEx person or somebody could have got Summer, but they always bring up that fact that she got mad and walked off, and that ended up that led to what happened. So I just wonder if he's heard that enough that he was like, maybe I should throw that in, or like you said, you know, they've heard that before, which just would be even sadder. Or if she felt that way.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Trevor, of where that story came from. I have thought that myself, and you know, shame on people for giving them other theories of what could have happened, because then they just take it and accept it as their own stories, and that's never going to get her found.
No. And if she did wander off and stomp off, then she'd be found.
I remember wandering off as a kid. When I get mad, you don't go that far.
No,
No,
thank you. No,
you don't.
not unless you can run 10 miles in 1 hour. That's a different story. When you're a kid and you're upset and you stomp off, you know where your bread is buttered and you come right back home.
Well, and let's be honest, if that's what she did, the likelihood of her being mad and stomping off down the road
Mhm.
and trying to act like she's going to go somewhere is probably not a reality at 5 years old. She probably would have went out to her swing and swung and sat out there and talked to herself like I used to do at 4 and 5 years old and fussed to myself because nobody wanted to play with me. Let's be real. 4 and 5-year-olds don't just get up and decide to walk off and walk down the road because they're mad. That's just not what they do. And furthermore, then that even means goes even further to say that's how little you were paying attention, Candace. So that's neglect, Candace. That's even more of a reason for us to talk about that. So
Exactly.
it's still a shit story.
He's trying to just pull anything out to see if it could hit the wall and it sticks. He's hoping for it. And 2 years almost later, no one's buying it.
I see a few comments in here saying, well, the more you talk about Don, like he's a mafia head person, the more you talk about Don, the more he'll talk. Good. Hopefully Candace talks more. If you haven't checked around, we talk about a ton of cases on this channel. As far as them having court today, they're supposed to, but whether they do or not. As far as the Wells adapting to what people say and go with it, they don't do it from here. So if you want to come in here and be rude and not be on the side of justice, then go on.
Get to stepping.
Hello, Pat.
Hi there, everyone.
So
Long time no
glad
see.
you're here.
Oh, I just had to stop in. I keep listening to all this. I always listen to Josh. You knew that, Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a young kid, I just like him. Anyway, I'm glad you guys have stayed on the subject of summer. But through all of this, the only thing I can say to Dawn and Candace, if you're listening, is the only thing that's going to get you out of this hole you're in is to call the Cold Case Foundation and ask for help. That's all I can say these days. I can't listen to, I don't believe anything anybody says.
They won't do that though.
Well, that's all I'm hoping. That's all I wanted.
There's tons of people there that you could work with, but Don don't like Chris.
I know that, but you know what? He didn't like Josh 10 million times too. So all I'm saying is, if Don's, he sounds sober, which is great for everybody. The only thing that can help is to call them and ask for their cooperation in helping to find Summer. And that's it. Nothing else is going to get them out of this hole, no matter how dry they stay. And if that's their goal, then let someone find Summer. It's heartbreaking. This was the first story I ever listened to. And then Brandy with, Monkey, and it's just heartbreaking. And anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I'm not staying on panel. Thank you guys for talking about it. But Dawn and Candace, just call Josh. Josh can call Chris for you. You don't have to talk to Chris. It's help. That's all.
Love you, Pat.
Love you too. Bye, guys.
Bye, Pat. Perfectly said.
But it's a simplistic story. It's a very simple story, and it's easy to remember. But it also, whenever I've heard the story, I always go, hey, this would make the most sense. It's like plausible deniability, because if Summer wandered off, Candace could get charged with neglect. If Summer got hurt, somebody could be charged with neglect. Now, saying somebody kidnapped her, basically you're saying it's out of our hands.
Well, the only possibility, and I don't think it's a very good one, but it is. I think there is a possibility that Summer got mad because she asked the boys to go downstairs and play with toys with her, and they was too busy playing their games or whatever. There is the possibility she got mad, you know, and stomped down the street saying nobody cares or something in her mind. I think that's a possibility.
That she
But
took off?
That she got mad. And, you know, but I don't think she would do that, but it is possible. We don't know.
And then an abduction, what would happen at the, and let me just tell you this too, because there are people that say this as well. When you say you gotta understand that the boys were the last ones to see her, I wouldn't put, I mean, you know, it sounds like you're putting it on the boys.
No, I'm not trying to put anything on the boys. It's not their fault that somebody took her.
I agree with
their
that.
fault. No, they was just busy with their games. They didn't think anything was wrong. We live not way out in the country, but pretty far in the country. We've never had any issues or anything, or even heard of anything like this. Thought everything was perfectly safe.
Right. But I'm not saying that that's exactly what you're doing, but it does come off a little, you know, like, hey, the boys were the last ones to see. And that may, you know what? And I'm sure that's true. I'm just saying, you know, that I'm sure that they feel just awful.
They do. I was sitting outside, you know, and I was just so distraught. And I don't know why, but my oldest boy came up to me and says, "It's not my fault, Dad. It's not my fault." And I says, I know it's not your fault. And we just sat there and hugged. I said, "It's okay. It's not."
Well, he also said that to Candace, correct?
Well, I probably did because
the oldest boy said.
I don't know. He might have. I don't know.
I mean,
sure.
Imagine talking to your parents saying it's not my fault. My sister hasn't been found.
That breaks my heart. Listen to that, because I can't imagine being those boys, and there's a reason why they've said that. You know, there's a reason why they came to the conclusion that they have said it really wasn't my fault. There's no reason why those kids would say that for any other reason than that somebody has said something that they have either said directly to them or they have overheard something that the boys were supposed to be watching. They have heard that from somewhere, and it's why they have drawn that conclusion, and it's why they felt the need to say it's not my fault. That's the only reason.
Man,
and that is heartbreaking. That is heartbreaking. Can you imagine? Oh, gosh.
Yeah, they don't deserve that at all.
Playing outside of your house is one of the most safest places you can be. Playing inside of your home. So why didn't Candace tally up and tell Dawn it's not my fault? It's not my fault. Why can't she tell the authorities where she went 2 times that day?
She can remember the slushy flavors, but she can't remember other stuff.
I know.
That baffles me.
All right, guys, let's light it up. Summer's favorite color actually was yellow, not purple. And let's wind down. I didn't mean to keep everybody for so long, but there was so much to go through. I want to tell Muscles, thank you very much. Trev, thank you very much. Shannon, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brooks. Thanks for having me up again. Then thank you everybody for being here for the right reason. So thank you.
Thank you guys for staying on this case. Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks.
100% all
It's all
day,
about
every day.
summer. It's all about summer.
100%. Because why would Summer always pick out yellow unless her favorite color was yellow?